Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new edition of John Stuff's another throwback show here on the John Stuff channel. My name is Bryan and I finally have somebody here in studio for the first time in a few months. Please welcome Adrian Lopez. How you doing, Adrian?
Hello, I'm doing good.
So, tell me, how have you been spending this whole quarantine times? All these few months, everyone's been here, close at home. How have you been spending your time?
Well, pretty much at home, basically. My father is still working, but I mostly stayed at home for 2 months and a half because it started since March. So yeah, basically 2 months.
You know what I've been doing through all these months? I've been like buying things up. I bought the Rodecaster, so it might arrive in around 1 or 2 months here. So suddenly, as you witness here in studio, everything started to break up. The Blue Yeti, this little thing, stopped working, and the seat that you were sitting broke.
I fell down from my ass.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe because all these things have lives, so I said, "Oh, I'm gonna buy new seats. I'm gonna buy new microphones like this sucker here. I hope this thing works by the time the Rodecaster arrives." And everything like stopped working. So right now we're like recording this in one microphone, the cheapest microphone I bought before this whole thing started. But yeah, we're not here to talk about our unfortunate events here in the studio. By the way, the studio is still under construction, as you noticed. We don't have air conditioner, so we're here.
We're gonna sweat a lot.
Yeah, we're boiling here, because the temperatures are high. But we're not here to talk about our misfortunes and shit. We're here to talk about good stuff. We're here to talk about probably one of the biggest movies in recent history, and that is, of course, the first Avengers movie that was released in 2012, directed by Joss Whedon. Now, tell me, Adrian, where were you when Avengers came?
Well, felt like a long time. So I went to the Catalinas Mall, and I remember it was one of the first times when I went to a theater where it was packed because when I was a kid I didn't see it as packed as I was an adult.
Yeah.
So it was the first time that I had to sit below in the seats of the below. Usually I go from the highs. It was so packed on upside that I had to go low. So I was my neck throughout the movie. I was like, oh my god, my neck. It was huge.
Yeah, I think my experiences with movies, I used to see a lot of animated movies at the theater, so I know when theaters are packed for Madagascar, for all the Shrek movies, because I've seen most of them, except the first one. So I've had that experience, but nothing like Avengers. I didn't see Avengers on its first day. I was in high school. I was around 10th grade, and my friends and I heard the buzz about Avengers, so we thought, why not? Let's just cut class and go to Plaza Las Americas and watch this movie. And it was something, because I didn't see all the movies before Avengers back then.
Oh, so you were a completely new person?
Yeah, a completely new person. I remember seeing like the first two Hulk movies.
But only one counts from the MCU.
Yeah. And the classic Spider-Man movies, I remember seeing those two, but I wasn't into Marvel. So then I see this movie that everyone's talking about. I remember everyone cutting class every day to see that movie in my school. So my friends and I decided, you know what, let's just do it once and we'll see what people are talking about. And then I saw the movie, and wow, I came out like a brand new Marvel fan, and I asked my friend Jose back then. I asked, "Hey, dude, where do I start catching up to these things?" And I started watching like the Iron Man movies. I heard that the Hulk, the first Hulk movie didn't count, so the Incredible Hulk is the one that's canon. And I started like going back into seeing these movies, and I thought, wow, this is something I've never seen before.
Yeah, this connectivity.
Yeah,
like, in some.
This movie. To say that this movie didn't change cinema, it changed big time, because now you see every single property is trying to make a universe.
Cinematic universe.
Yeah, we see that with Scoob. We see that with
the MonsterVerse.
The MonsterVerse that failed terribly. but Marvel took its time with Iron Man and then with the movies leading up to Avengers.
Yeah.
Why do you think these movies work?
Well, first of all, it was like some. I mean, there has been movies in the past, like decades ago, because of the Universal monster movies from black and white eras.
Mm-hmm.
They were connected, but the Marvel movies kind of connected with its own like pace for pace. Like it built you up, and you were like, oh, what's gonna happen next? So it was the interesting idea of seeing like. It was the first time we see so many superheroes together because we have never seen it because of rights and movie rights. We couldn't use Spider-Man because it was Sony. 20th Century Fox has the X-Men. So everything changed. Like we can now make it work, uniting these superheroes together. There were talks with the Batman v Superman movie before the 2016 one.
I remember they had like a teaser poster in I Am Legend.
Yeah, but that was like an Easter egg. That wasn't possible back then. But like, I was going to ask you because now that you know, you said, I'm surprised that the first movie from the MCU that you ever saw was Avengers. Did you felt lost throughout the movie? Like, oh wait, something happened here that I missed? Or
not really, because I had the knowledge of all these superhero movies. You know, my first experience dealing with this Marvel thing was Marvel's Ultimate Alliance. I remember that game vividly. I loved that game. My favorite character playing that game was, of course, Doctor Strange. So I have prior knowledge of these characters. I know what universe each and every single superhero belongs. So I wasn't one of those guys that thought, oh, when is Superman's going to show up? I knew these guys were from Marvel, these guys were from DC, but I wasn't into the movie going comic book thingy because we've had comic book movies before these MCU ones. We had Blade movies, we had the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies.
The worst standalone.
By the way, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, the greatest comic book films of all time. And we had the X-Men, which I wasn't as big of a fan.
Yeah, I saw them, but I wasn't huge.
And Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four movies, which I was fine with.
Yeah.
But the idea of mixing all of these characters into a 2-hour film, it didn't cross my mind because I thought that was only seen on video games and on the comic books. So seeing how well these characters work before even seeing these movies, the movies before it, it was fun to watch. And the things that surprised me the most is that not only the comic book fans came to see this movie. I think the greatest thing that Avengers accomplished was bringing this big audience,
the regular audience.
The regular audience, the fans, the not fans, the children that don't know shit about these superheroes. So this is the movie that
defined the 2010s, one of the biggest movies of the 2010s.
And now defines cinema today. Yeah, we can talk about artsy movies like The Irishman and all of that. Those are still cinema. But we cannot say these movies are not cinema because, let's be honest, these are the movies that are packing theaters, are making big time money.
Yeah.
So, Avengers changed my mind about movies and made me go to watch movies more regularly in theaters. Mm-hmm. When you saw Avengers for the first time, what do you think about the movie itself?
The first time when I saw it in theaters, I was there because I saw all the movies with my father. It was like he was the first one who got me into the first Spider-Man movie with Sam Raimi and stuff.
Yeah.
So every time there was a superhero movie, even the bad ones, I always saw it with my father. So there was like a connection already there. I was like, yes, I already saw Iron Man, I already saw Hulk, Thor, Captain America, and we were there. We were so hyped, and every second of excitement, emotion, it was there, and I felt it throughout the movie until the end. And it was so great because the audience was applauding, the excitement, cheering, and it was so great.
I think my experience with the audience reacting to the movie was later in the MCU because I know the people I saw the movie with had fun with it, but they weren't reacting to what was happening in the screen. But I remember seeing it with my friends, with my old friends, Benji, John, which you all know from the channel, and we really had a very good time watching this movie. And after this movie, I started to dive in more into this movie industry, if you call it that. And I started diving into not just the MCU and what's to come.
Mm-hmm.
But it made me interested in movies as a whole again because I was interested before with the Indiana Jones movies, but I wasn't going to the movies religiously as I do now.
Yeah, because we were kids and we were thinking about other stuff.
All I was thinking, where's the next Trek movie gonna come? What's the next Pixar movie that's coming to theaters?
Exactly.
I was only going to theaters for those sort of
the animated movies and the action
movies.
Yeah,
and now one of the things that I'm grateful for the Avengers movies and MCU as a whole is that it made me a movie fan because now I appreciate film as a whole a lot more.
Yeah.
It brought me back to theaters. It made me invest my time and money to movies, not just to the MCU ones and the DC Universe ones, but other movies in general.
Mm-hmm.
Because back then I didn't thought of the movies big like this important thing.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I have movies that touched my life like Shrek, Indiana Jones, which is the one that defined my love for movies, but not as big as Avengers. Now, seeing this movie 8 years later, I saw it this morning. You saw it?
I saw it last night, yeah.
Do you still feel the same, or does it enhance your love to the MCU?
Well, looking at it back, because it was, like you said, like 8 years,
yeah,
right?
8 years ago.
And the difference is there, like, in the sense of not, it's a bad movie, it's not, but, like, compared to what we already seen after the first Avengers movie, they're so much bigger in scale, like Avengers Endgame. So it was so nice to see Avengers 1 just as a small scale movie, because if it's not as big as the other ones, but it was so great. The same moments that I cheered and I laughed and I got the excitement, they're still there. I got goosebumps and the nostalgia was there, but it's still a good movie.
Yeah, no.
I felt it.
Yeah, compared to what we saw later in the years, Age of Ultron, Infinity War, Endgame, to this movie to hold up so great after all these years, it's astounding. But when I saw this movie this morning, I felt the same way I felt back when I was a high schooler, back when I was young. But it goes to show that we've come a long way with movies.
Definitely.
And if you see the results of back then, what the movie business was compared to after the Avengers, the movie industry as a whole revitalized thanks to the MCU. People started to go out more to the movies, not just for the big time MCU movies,
but other stuff.
But everything else. It inspired DC to attempt to make their own universe, and it worked out greatly. But except Man of Steel. Man of Steel is great. Wonder Woman as well.
Shazam.
Yeah, Shazam is good too. But where Marvel works, why the cinematic universe work is because they took their time. They developed each of their characters in their own little universe.
Yeah.
And then they decided to start connecting the dots. Something that DC didn't do. They did well with Man of Steel.
Yeah. Because it was the first.
Yeah, but then they decided to connect all the dots at the same time on Batman v Superman, which it made money. It wasn't well received.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes to Avengers and then what it followed, Winter Soldier, all those movies, I'm just happy for Avengers' existence and its success, because not only it revitalized the movie going experience, but it made me a movie fan, a bigger movie fan than I was before, and I'm just excited every time that I go to the movie and see the posters that I see, even though it's not MCU. Every time I see Mulan or the Ghostbusters Afterlife poster, I get excited for movies again thanks to the Avengers. So I had that to thank for to the Avengers.
Yeah.
Now, before we close this show, what now that we're going back to this first Avengers scale. Now that Endgame is over and passed,
Yeah.
now that we're going to introduce new characters to the MCU,
New stories.
do you think we'll have that same hype as the first Avengers movie again?
I mean, it's 50-50 because some people I've heard on the internet and stuff that they're over, that they don't want to know anything more about the MCU after the end of the Infinity Saga.
Yeah.
But then again, these movies are gonna be huge box office success either way. But you know, the excitement will be slowly built again in the future movies when they do something new.
Yeah,
with
because
a new villain.
we see the main players of this movie: Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Hulk. For the exception of Thor and Hulk, everyone else is gone. Well, Hawkeye is too.
Yeah, but his stuff will be a TV show. So
yeah, no, that's what excites me the most. 8 years later, now we're expanding storytelling not just in movies but in TV.
Yeah.
They tried to do it with Agents of Shield, which we saw Phil Coulson in this movie. Well, when he died.
Yeah.
But he really didn't die. So seeing that now we're going back to this smaller scale stories leading up to
a bigger stuff.
So to the bigger stuff again. I'm excited, and especially because now we're gonna introduce new, fresh characters. Because, yeah, Iron Man, Captain America, these characters weren't as known in cinema, but these are established characters already in the comic book world.
We want new people to be heard, new voices.
Yeah. I'm very excited for the Eternals. I'm very bummed out because that movie was set to release this November, and then coronavirus happened, and now Black Widow is gonna come out in November.
And I'm sad because now Doctor Strange will be postponed. We don't know yet the official date.
No, I know that.
I wanted to see it next year, but I'm like, ugh.
No, not only that. WandaVision was supposed to come out in October.
But now they move it, right?
Well, they'll have to move it because it leads to Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Falcon and Winter Soldier, which apparently is a series that's gonna resonate a lot with what's going on today in the world.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It got delayed because of Black Widow got delayed, so we'll have to wait till November or December to see that series again. But I'm excited to see what's next. Yes, talking about the main players here, Iron Man was fantastic in this movie.
Yeah.
Captain America was great. I think people were sour when they saw the first Avengers movie because they saw the first Avenger movie, Captain America, the first Avenger. People got won over by Captain America after Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
But I was a Captain America fan after this movie.
No, I was pretty much a fan since the first Avenger movie because I like his character because he's not mean. He's not like, oh, I want to fight because, American, whatever. He just wants to do it because it's the right thing. And I love that since the first movie. And people were like, oh, Captain America is lame.
He's just a Boy Scout.
And when Winter Soldier came out, I'm like, yes, Captain America is the man. Yes.
Yeah. And do you remember the look of Thanos in this movie? I just love how they improved it for Infinity War.
Yeah, it looks very different.
Because he looks like the comic book version of Thanos.
Yeah, but this was more of a tease more than an official look yet.
Yeah, but
it was still in the process.
Imagine making a movie with that version of Thanos. I don't think it could have worked as well as they did in
develop and establish. Yeah.
So before we close, who was your favorite character in this Avengers movie? Who's your MVP on this movie?
In the Avengers movie alone, it was Bruce Banner Hulk. It was really great, like the character and everything.
I'm gonna say Phil Coulson. I liked him.
Oh yeah, he's like the nerdy one.
He was my favorite. He was the main reason why I started watching Agents of Shield until I stopped. But I liked it. I like his character, how he was a fan of Captain America, and then even though I didn't have the background of Phil Coulson then, it still touched my heart when he dies.
Yeah,
and
but
then
you don't have to worry about that because from what I understand, Phil Coulson was created for the movies first, and then he got popular, and then he appeared in the comic books. Yeah. So his first exposure basically was in Avengers.
But after I loved Phil Coulson in this movie, and I didn't know he appeared the
Yeah,
movies before.
he appeared in the first Iron Man, I think in the second one.
And in the first Thor movie as well. But without that background, I still felt for that character because look, he's just a regular fanboy like me.
Yeah.
Hey, look, he died. No, fuck you, Loki. One of the things that I'm sick and tired is Loki. I'm sorry. He was fine in this movie. Let's kill him off.
And he already died, so. But then, how they're gonna explain the Loki Disney Plus show that it's another version? So we have to wait.
I'm sick and tired of Loki. Please kill him off. But hey, at least they killed off most of the Avengers on Endgame, you know.
On Endgame. Yeah.
So I'm just ready to see where the MCU goes from here, and we keep on celebrating Avengers because thanks to Avengers, the cinema is still going strong. So before we go, where can the guys find you? Adrian?
Me, have CustomPopsPR on Instagram. That's where you can find me.
Yeah, check it out. He's got great pictures with his Funko Pops, mixing it up with comic books and stuff. You can follow me, of course, in all the Beyond Stuff formats: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere, even Twitch. Even though I do not use Twitch at all.
Then why do you have it though?
Because I'm going to make video games gameplay
right,
soon. You'll see. You'll see. But thank you so much for seeing this video. Thankfully this went well because of the whole the experience that we had throughout the day. So if you want another movie, another comic book movie you want us to discuss, let us know in the comment sections down below, and I will see you guys next time.